panel for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir?
Hi, my name is Zach Lockman. I live on Robbins Road down by the high school. And I'm the...
In Keene?
Yep. And I'm the intern for the city clerk this summer. I thought it might be good to bring up some of the case law I found for Washington, D.C. For their defacement ordinance, which the language reads, it shall be unlawful for any person or persons willfully and wantonly to disfigure, cut, chip, cover, or rub, or otherwise place filth or excrement to write, mark, or print obscene or indecent figures representing obscene objects upon to write, mark, draw, or paint without the consent of the owner or proprietor, or in the case of public property or of the person having charge, custody, or control thereof, any word, sign, or figure upon any property, public or private building, statue, monument, office, public passenger vehicle, mass transit equipment, facility, dwelling, structure of any kind. And this is from the case Mahoney v. Doe, 097131. And the gist of the ordinance here is that if you seek permission from the public authority that has control over that area, you're allowed to go ahead. And so in front of the White House, they have an annual chalk contest called Chalk for Peace. And people that do that annually seek permission from the White House to chalk in front of the pavement in front of there. But if you can't get permission, you're going to do it. So I guess if you would ask whether I'm in favor of an ordinance or not, I guess I'd say to have something that allows for some amount of chalking, maybe.
Thank you. Councilor Jones, do you have a question?
Well, about what the gentleman just said, going back to Councilor Filio's request, it sounds like people think we have an ordinance here tonight and we're going to vote this ordinance up and down, and we are definitely not. The request from Councilor Filio was to research the possibility of an enforceable ordinance, which means if we voted yes to research the possibility, staff would come back and give us all the options we could do, including the options you mentioned, including allowing it in certain areas. There's a lot of things that can be looked at. I just want to make sure the public is clear. We're not here with the ordinance in front of us tonight that votes to ban graffiti and
Okay.
Councilor Filio, that's what you're looking for, correct?
Thank you for coming, guys.
Hi, my name is Tammy Adams. I live in Keene, New Hampshire. And right out of the gate, I want to say I am not in support of a chalking ordinance until I see the text of it. I want to know how it's framed. I'd like to see a sunset resolution put on it so it's revisited at some point in time. And it's not just a blanket rule set in stone forever and ever. I think I would like also to express there's plenty of rules and laws and torts and whatever name you want to apply to it that covers some of the behaviors that are seemingly revolving around the chalking. I would really like to see those enforced more. Defamation of character is a real problem. I have some serious issues with that. Taunting people. Mariah drew some beautiful things, and I also went out and did some cleanup, but the art part that she had there that was quite lovely, I left. But the taunting is almost intolerable. Also, I'd like to see an enforcement of the current criminal mischief statute. If it's on the sidewalk, sure, it's temporary, but if it's on any vertical structures, please, I don't want to tolerate it. Like there's still stains on the common, on the gazebo, and it just shouldn't. I don't feel like I want to be burdened with this anymore. And so anyway, if staff comes up with an ordinance, is there some time the public may be able to see the
Yeah,
language?
Any proposed ordinance, it would come back, well, first of all, any decision from this committee has to be voted on by the full council. If it goes past the full council, staff will do what this committee recommended, or if it was amended, it would come back to this committee. There would be plenty of opportunity for the public to
So it
review,
really
comment
is-
on anything.
It is a long process, not an event, so it will be revisited.
Yeah, the possibility, as Councilor Jones pointed out again, the possibility of an enforceable graffiti ordinance is what Councilor Filio is requesting. The ordinance process, any ordinance takes a number of months at the very least, in my experience.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Go this way. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Sorry, I'm speaking for two of us. My name is Ed Bryans. I live in Old Homestead Highway in New Hampshire. I'm out here. I know people that are both for this and against this particular ordinance, even though we don't have a wording for it yet.
Yeah, it's not an ordinance, it's
I understand.
possibly researching an enforceable graffiti ordinance is the request that was
Just
made to
to
this.
give you a little of my history, I grew up in Los Angeles. There's what we call graffiti there. That's spray paint on buildings. It doesn't get removed. There's some very beautiful artistic graffiti, but it's permanent. What we're talking about here in Keene is, I realize there's artwork, there may be words being written, children playing hopscotch, children playing tic-tac-toe. This chalk, it comes off, it rinses off with rain, it rinses off naturally. To me, this seems to be a lot of nonsense for a very minor thing. There's much bigger problems in Keene. We have a court system that kidnaps children from fit parents. We have a lot of issues that are going on here. This just seems to be a big waste of time. And that's just my opinion of it. I'm also a veteran. I'm a business owner. I've come down on the square and played hopscotch with my kids. We've walked over and bought an ice cream while we're downtown. We've gotten a coffee. We go to the candy store. So does it bring business to town? If I'm downtown having fun with my children, I spend my money downtown. That's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Marizotto, live in Chesterfield, and I'd just like to make a few comments. One of the comments is that I think everyone has had some really great feedback. Children chalking, I think, is a little different. I've seen pictures of children chalking on the gazebo floor. Rain won't wash that off. I've seen chalking that don't come off, as some other people have said. My big point that I wanted to bring forth is last week I had 18 international visitors here. I work at a business, a global business, locally. And they were downtown. And the discussions the next day were, don't go downtown unless there's more than 2 of us together at a time because of what they saw. Not necessarily just the chalking, so maybe that's for a different night, but it was because of the groups of people together. It was because of someone brandishing, a nightstick and the hollering. They shared that there was vulgar language written in chalk, smiley faces all over the place. While that may seem peaceful, do we really need 100 of them? I just wanted the feedback from a visitor standpoint. Having 18 international people talk about how they felt not particularly safe is not what I know my community to be. Yep.
Are you for you, this proposal forward or against it?
I think for the ordinance, but
Well, it's not an ordinance, it's research.
yeah,
For the research.
for the research, yes.
Councilor Jones put the button right clear every time, not just one. I just want to make sure I saw other folks. Does anybody else want to this gentleman in the striped shirt, and then this woman, and then you'll be next. Sorry, they have their hands up and we're standing in line.
Oh, sure. Hello, my name is Derek Horton. I too live in Keene, New Hampshire, and I believe that humans are born with certain freedoms, certain inalienable rights, and among them are the right to free expression. And I would consider the use of chalk, which is a natural substance developed in nature without the assistance of humans, to be a tool that humans use for free expression. In a common area like downtown Keene Central Square, this is a perfectly appropriate place for communication of ideas. And to criminalize the use of a natural substance like chalk in downtown would be to criminalize free expression. I want the council to also consider the children, because chalking primarily a children's activity, though some adults in the community do engage in it as well. Would the council really feel comfortable breaking out the handcuffs for children?
Is that a rhetorical question?
I'd like to hear your answer if you're not sure if it's a rhetorical question.
I think that every comment this evening is appreciated. I'm just trying to clarify if that's the reason why you don't support going further in exploring the possibility of an enforceable graffiti ordinance. But I would like to ask you a question, if I may. Free expression, you've mentioned that.
Certainly.
That's a right we all enjoy, whether we agree with what other people say or not. But what about this free expression? We've heard a lot of testimony this evening about offensive, rather threatening, perhaps communication that could be defamatory in nature. What is your opinion on that? Do you feel that's okay to write that on public property, chalk, or any other means? I just want to...
It sounds like you're asking where the limits of free expression are, in my view.
Yes.
I view humans as having the right to express themselves peacefully and freely. And that would include using vulgar language if they wish. That certainly inflicts no harm upon anyone. Using libel or saying false statements, of course, is a crime, but those laws are already on the books. We're talking about free expression, people expressing ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? All set. Sir, I think you had your hand up, standing against the wall. You're next, and then the woman behind you. Could people who want to speak, could they raise their hand? Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I would ask, because I don't want to make this meeting turn inefficiently. If you don't mind standing in line, and I want to make sure we have a chance to hear everything and give the committee a chance to deliberate what's been said. And if you want to talk for the first time, please get, and then just orderly proceed. I would appreciate it. That way we're clear on how much time we have. And is there anybody who wants to speak for a second time? Okay. So unless there's a burning desire to, okay, and then we'll deliberate. Sir?
Okay, we don't need more laws.
Name, please.
Joe Mirza, 50 Summit Road, Keene. We don't need more laws. We certainly don't need laws that infringe on freedom of speech. I use chalk, and I use chalk for political speech. You know, art, that's nice. I got no problem. Children, that's nice. I don't have a problem. But the square is a place, as the other man terrifically said, the square is a place for political debate. And our country's principle is that free speech will not be infringed. It's not, this isn't, some of the people here claim it's destructive. It's not, I don't think it's destructive. And whatever it is, it's not destructive enough to destroy one of our freedoms. Second problem is that the timing of this, I know you don't want to get into the other thing, but there, you're right, but there were 2 crimes, 2 days of violence in the square, and those were crimes, and those should be settled, and the facts should be known before you do this. I would recommend, I don't want this ordinance at all, but you're going to vote today. I would vote to put it on more time, because until the case is closed, until the crime that generated this request, we understand all the facts about it. Because my concern is violence and the incitement of violence. 2 things: violence and the incitement of violence. And I think that's what we should worry about, not sure.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, and, you made a statement that the violence that occurred in the square is what generated this request. I just want to clarify with Councilor Filio, because I know I've read statements he's made, so if you want to come up and clarify whether or not these events... Sure. You're all set, thanks.
I'm done?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, I've been working on this for months. It just happened that the couple of acts of violence just happened right when I was getting ready to submit the letter. I've been researching this for probably 3 months now.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that on the record.
Hello, my name is Dale Howell, and I live on the Common. I'm coming up to talk to you about a little bit about what I've seen written. I've seen racial slurs, I've seen swastikas, I've seen good people going to clean up these things and being harassed by a group of people. I was recently in the Common last week, and they were smoking marijuana. I have an 8-year-old, and I was there, and they were chalking and smoking marijuana. One of the leaders of the group, actually, the Free Keene group. So this whole chalking thing, they're blocking people from actually physically coming into the Common at times. It is a nuisance, and it looks disgusting.
Do you feel an enforceable graffiti ordinance would address that behavior you just described?
I'm not, I guess if they were to move on, I'm not sure, but all I know is that they're breaking the law even when they're chalking.
Can I ask you a question? Did you report the marijuana smoking?
No, he left right after I said something to him about it.
Okay. Any comments? Thank you. Next person who wishes to speak?
Hi, Daryl Masterson, lifelong resident of Keene, living on Willow Street currently. I gotta admit that I'm right along with the whole freedom of speech thing. I don't think we should be trying to limit anything. But I'll also throw out that just because you can say something or you can do something because it's your legal right, doesn't mean you should. I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna point any fingers. I think, personally, the city of Keene has way more important things to work on than trying to take the city council's time to decide whether or not we can try to enforce a chalking ban, for lack of better terms, when honestly I don't think you could ever enforce it. The city police would be at the central square all day long, every day, and that's just a waste of resources, in my opinion. So I think city council, Randy, I appreciate the work you do. I think you guys should just move on. We got other things we can work on. We can continue making this a great city. I think this is a fad, kind of like goldfish swallowing, kind of gross. I would never do it. I'm not down chalking either, but I don't spend a whole lot of time down there either. So that's just my piece. And I did email the city council earlier with a similar statement, but I figured everybody else would love to know my intent.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker?
Hi, I'm Ian Freeman from Keene. It was interesting, chalking's been going on for a long time here in Keene. In fact, Chalk the Police Day has happened in the past, and there was one time when a Keene police officer actually joined in and chalked his own smiley face on the ground. Now, I don't happen to have any artistic ability, but I don't think that one's artistic ability should be a factor in whether or not one should be able to engage in free speech. And really that's what we're talking about here, is restrictions upon free speech, or at least the proposed idea of restrictions on free speech and free exercise of one's primary rights. And to go back to what the gentleman from the city clerk's office said, if you have to ask permission from anyone, you aren't talking about a right anymore, because rights are inherent. You don't have to ask permission to exercise your rights. I don't plan on asking anyone's permission to exercise my right to free speech. I support free speech, even though it can be kind of ugly sometimes. The case of the DEA raid on Fat Stuff was brought up earlier by a previous speaker, and that did seem to be where this war on chalk began. As you may know, the DEA did raids across the country, and Keene was one of the targets, and I was there for that, and I know that another activist had some chalk out front, and the activist was offering chalk to anyone who would walk by who had something to express. And yes, there were a couple of things that were written by folks from Keene about, that were vulgar about the DEA. They were upset that a favorite downtown business was being essentially robbed at gunpoint by the DEA, and F the DEA, somebody wrote that down with chalk. There was this group of folks who came out to clean all of the chalking up, not just the offensive, the vulgar chalking, but all of the chalking. And of course, as a result of that, sort of began this chalkupation of what I've seen to be mostly positive chalkings, smiley faces, hearts, peaceful sayings. Maybe there have been some chalkings that have been offensive to personal individuals, and I don't know who is responsible for doing that, obviously. But, free speech can be an ugly thing. Things will be said inevitably. You never know who's going to pick up the chalk, right? And I would say that the best answer to offensive speech is more speech, not deletion, not removal, not destruction, not threats, which of course is what we'd be talking about here, be threatening chalkers with arrest and, court, and then possible jail time if they don't serve the sentence imposed by the court. So, this is a pretty serious matter, and hopefully I won't have to record any video of someone being arrested for using chalk on the ground. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Daryl Perry, 75 Leverett.